Another explosive day of testimony in the trial of disbarred attorney Alex Murdaugh. We are in the 10th day of witness testimony. The disbarred attorney accused in the murder of his wife Maggie and his son Paul in June of 2021. This is a live look inside the courtroom this morning. At this hour, we are hearing from a former paralegal of Murdaugh's law firm. Her name is Annette Griswold. She is testifying about Alex's alleged financial crimes. This week, the judge allowed prosecutors to hear this evidence of financial crimes allegedly against Alex Murdaugh to prove that it was a motive to kill his wife and his son. The defense says he is innocent. The CFO at that law firm testified that she had proof Alex was stealing money from the firm and also from clients. And when she confronted him about the missing funds on June 7th, 2021, that was the same day that we now know his wife and son were murdered later that night. Here with us this morning, criminal defense attorney April Preyar. She's been following the trial since the beginning. Day 10 of testimony. Every single day, we are learning more about the prosecution's evidence. But I have yet to hear, April, direct evidence linking Alex Murdaugh to this crime. It's all circumstantial. How does that land with the jury?
Well, I think it makes it very muddy for the jury because there is no, as we always say, smoking gun. There is nothing placing the murder weapon in his hand. In fact, there's no murder weapon. So the jurors are left with a lot of evidence that doesn't necessarily tell them how the lives of these two individuals were ended or by whom. So I think it makes it very difficult when it's a mostly circumstantial or really an all circumstantial evidence case.
So, April, on the stand yesterday, and this was pretty important testimony, the forensic expert said that the shirt and shorts that Alex Murdaugh was wearing the night of the murders had gunshot residue on it, as well as a particle found on his hands that night and a particle that was found on the seat belt of Murdaugh's SUV. Is that enough evidence to sway the jury?
It is not. I would hope not, I would say, because remember, this is a gun enthusiast. He is a hunter. In fact, when the police arrived on scene, when he called the dispatch, he says, "Hey, I'm running in the house to go get my gun." When they arrive on scene, he says, "Hey, I have a shotgun in my vehicle." In fact, evidence comes out from just about everybody in his family. They always have guns or in their cars. Even when he told the police he had the shotgun in his truck, he said, "Hey, there may be a pistol in there too." They were oftentimes hunting. So we heard much evidence yesterday about the blue raincoat versus the blue tarp, and even finding gunshot residue on his shirt, on his car, on the buckle of the seat belt, or even in that blue raincoat doesn't amount to much because no one can say when that gunshot residue landed in all those various places. That is the one thing that no expert can tell is what weapon that gunshot residue came from or when that gunshot residue landed in those various locations. And again, I said, this is an entire hunting family. So you don't even know if the gunshot residue that was in the car or on the shotgun or wherever it came from can be attributed to Alex's actions.
All right. Well, so can this amount to much when you talk about that not being enough for the jury to make that leap? He's been caught, according to witness testimony, in a couple of lies that crack holes in his alibi that night. One being 3 people who have already taken the stand, listened to the Snapchat video, close friends of his, colleagues of his, and they say, "I'm 100% sure that's his voice on that Snapchat video within minutes of the murders." He said he was never at the dog kennels that night. The jury got to hear that. The friends say 100%. Then you've got the caretaker for his mom saying, he called me up and said, "I need you to lie. I need you to say that I was at my mom's house for longer than I actually was the night of the murders." So these two pieces of evidence, witness testimony, catch him in a bit of a fib. How does that land with the jury?
Well, again, it's a lot for the jury to sort through. So yes, he has been found many times to be dishonest. And for that reason, I believe that it would be very foolish for his attorneys to put him on the stand. But yes, he had the conversation with the caregiver of his mom that suggested that, hey, I was at the house longer than you said I was at the house. So I think that his dishonesty may blow back in some ways, but I was just listening to the last ruling and the judge is allowing testimony of his drug abuse. So although that is a bad act, a prior bad act, although obviously that could be considered prejudicial, it may also explain a lot of his dishonesty. It may explain his bad behavior. But again, it doesn't necessarily, I mean, quite frankly, murdering your own child and blowing the child's head off. I mean, I think that that is a lot for a juror to grapple with, to kill your child in such a violent manner, as opposed to the other various means that you could take a life. I still think that that's a huge leap to say he's a dishonest person, he's a liar, and therefore he must also be a killer.
And that grisly detail gets at the heart of this case. It is a tragic, complicated trial. April Preyar, criminal defense attorney, always appreciate seeing you. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.